So today we're going to look at one of the more desirable of the Sansui receivers. It dates back to the mid-70s. A real powerhouse, 130 watts per channel continuous, and it'll actually peak at closer to about 180 watts for the peaks. Music power, I think it was 125 or 130 continuous power. This is a monster, very sought after these days and commanding top dollar. Let's take a look at it. So this is one of the holy grail of receivers. One of the most sought after receivers that you will find. And a receiver like this commands upwards of $1,700 to $2,000 today. Not bad for a receiver that was released in, I think, 1976. Somewhere around there. This is a Sansui 9090 dB. It has Dolby FM. Dolby FM decoder built in. And this unit here is actually in very good condition. The wood needs some work. The wood cabinet's got some scratches in it. But that's easy enough to fix that. Some polish will take that out, or even sand it down and refinish it. It doesn't have any serious, just a few scratches here and there, but really that cabinet could be made to look brand new without a lot of effort. Let's just look at this thing for a minute, and I'll show you the back of it too. It's got two sets of headphone plugs on the front, power button, bass, treble, and mid-range. You can change your bass and treble crossover frequencies, volume with balance control, balance here and volume, loudness mode, your tape selector, copy or record from source, deck 1 or deck 2, this is for tape play, copy 1 to 2, deck 2, copy 2 to 1. Got a mic mixer built in. Phono, FM auto, Dolby FM adapter, AM and auxiliary. And this does have the Dolby FM built in. On the front, meter selector, signal or multipath, MPX filter, FM muting, Dolby noise reduction or 4-channel adapter. On the back, I see someone's removed the DIN for tape 2. I think the wires are still there, but somebody has removed the DIN plug at some point. It's got your inputs and outputs, your main out and preamp inputs, AM antenna, and I think this snaps into here. Oh, that's broken. Looks like that's broken there for the AM antenna. So you could rotate it around. FM and AM external antennas. Okay, on the back here you had, what were these other plugs? Label that. Dolby 4-channel adapter, I believe, yeah. Dolby 4-channel adapter in and out. Phono, auxiliary. Tape 1 record play, tape 2 record play, and then this one was paralleled with it, which there isn't one there. That would be easy enough to reconnect that. Just have to get a 5-pin DIN plug, but that was missing when I received this unit, as was the piece here, that plastic ball joint that allows you to swivel the antenna around. Nobody uses AM anyway, but so you get your convenience 150 watt and 100 watt switched and unswitched outputs. You got 8 output transistors, 4 per channel. This one will operate on 100, 120, 220, or 240 volts. Draws 270 watts of power. Can have up to 3 speaker systems. Cannot run all 3 at the same time though. You can run A, B, or C, A and B, A and C, and B and C. can only run two pairs at once. Now the last time this unit was operated, it worked. And that's because I rebuilt this thing years and years ago. These would be all original transistors I put in here. They're all sank in. I replaced all the transistors. All the transistors were replaced. All of them were blown, as were the drivers, and a bunch of other things were blown on this. You guys may have guessed by now that this one's my receiver. See, it's in pretty good shape. There's the odd scratch on the cabinet, but considering the age of it, it's actually in very good shape. All the scratches on it happened before it became mine. Get a load of that transformer. So we're going to do a restoration on this unit. May not change all the capacitors, but I certainly will. I'll certainly change the ones that I have.
If they measure bad, that is.
I won't have the big ones that are underneath the chassis on here. Before we do that, let's just see what it does. Now, to say this unit, to my knowledge, is working. It worked the last time I used it, which wasn't that long ago. And I do know that it does need attention to the controls. The switches and controls are dirty. So let's hook up some speakers. And we'll plug this one in and watch it go kaboom. And I don't have to worry about the caps going kaboom from not being charged, because it wasn't that long ago that this was turned on. It's been turned on in the last couple months. I actually have it in my other... I keep this one in my my other workshop, which is basically what I just do tape conversions and stuff in there for my 3/4 inch decks and stuff. So I keep it in there, and I do listen to it if I'm working in there. Turn it on. So it's not that long ago that this unit was turned on. So I don't anticipate anything going kaboom when I turn it on. So speakers A, get the flashing red light for the speaker protector, and we have power. Now let's
The world famous C-Fox.
needs light bulbs, and it needs controls cleaned. But this is a real beauty of an amp. I think all the light bulbs are burnt out.
November election being stolen. And that's the same thing news from Vancouver for News Anytime.
Dolby FM. Of course, this is not an Dolby FM broadcast, but the adapter is built in on this one. Now, you might wonder how I came to acquire such a fine piece of equipment. It's probably, I'm going to say, 1990, early 1990s. I've had this since. It was brought to me for repair, and it was blown up but good. It had all the outputs here were blown. The driver transistors were blown. There was fuses blown everywhere. Resistors burned up. If I pull the board here, I think there used to be a metal cover over this at one point too that sat over there, but it's long been lost. If I pull the board, we had a blown fuse here because the other fuse was wrapped like this one. Looks like a couple resistors here were blown. Drivers were blown. You can see that they're different. This one's an NEC, as is this one, but on this side over here, looks like a National Semiconductor, another NEC. So that one was blown for sure. And there was resistors that were cooked. These have been replaced. All the outputs were replaced. Trace was repaired. Looks like the one of the resistors ended up going on the back. But it was a mess. This was an absolute mess. I spent much time restoring this thing, and then when it came time for the guy to pick it up, and I'm leaving out some of the details here, but because the guy that brought it to me wasn't the guy that owned it, he was bringing it in for somebody else, and he wanted the amp back, and I said, no, you got to pay for it first. He says, oh, well, I'll get you the money. And it was like, nope, you won't get me the money. I said, yeah, you're right, you will get me the money. You will get me the money, and then you can have this receiver back. And we got stuck in a debate over who was going to pay for it. And I said, well, it's not leaving here until it's paid for, and every month you leave it, it's going to go up by $50. Long story short, he never came back to pick it up, and I got myself a real nice receiver out of it. We're going to pull the bottom off of it as well. I got to clean all the controls for starters, and then I think maybe I should change some of the caps in this one. They are, after all, pretty old, although it still works. So now I don't know what happened to that DIN socket. It was missing when I got it. I wasn't the first person to get into this unit. It had been gotten into before I got it. But I know these units go for stupid amounts of money. I think if someone were to come up to me and offer me a stupid amount of money for it, I'd probably sell it. But then again, maybe I wouldn't. Okay, in the bottom lives the main filter caps, a couple big Elda 6800, which don't seem to even that big considering the power output of this unit, but there are a couple big ones on the bottom here. I want to get into these controls and clean them. To say, I'm not going to replace all the caps in this unit. It doesn't make any sense to do that, but maybe some of the ones in the audio circuit wouldn't hurt to change them. Looks like there was a resistor down here that was cooked too. As I say, this unit here had so many things wrong with it when it came in all those years ago, but man, it kicks out a lot of power and it certainly sounds good. Looks like somebody's been modding this at some point. Traces were cut and they were bridged back in with some wire. Not my doing, that was like that before I saw it. So we'll start out by cleaning these switches here. This is the mode and the loudness switch and the volume control and so forth. We'll clean the controls on the front here.
So I don't need to bore you guys with the process of cleaning the controls. So let me clean the rest of the controls, and then we'll evaluate and see whether I need to go any further. So this is the record selector switch and tape monitor switch, as well as the main function switch. It's a disc type switch.
There we go, a little bit cleaner.
Oh, that's a bad pun, get it? The cleaner, the controls were clean, its sound is cleaner. One thing I've noticed with this amp is the mid-range is just incredible. You know what they say, right? If you don't get the mid-range right, nothing else matters. And this thing here has just incredibly clear mid-range. Uh-oh, magic smoke.
Yeah, okay, here's our outputs. So we have 61 volts on this one, and this one here is minus 60. So 120 volts potential between the two outputs. Gives this thing about 125 watts per channel. Somewhere in there, 125, 130 watts per channel. But it'll give you full power. You can run that power all day. Barely gets warm. Good heat sink on the back.
So I think we'll check and possibly replace the caps.
At least on the driver board. And possibly these power supply ones as well. I'm not going to do the big caps because I don't think there's any point in doing that. There shouldn't be anything wrong with them. These ones here, they're old, right? So we'll pull the driver board out. And we'll change. Oh, I might not be able to change these. I don't know that I've got caps that are big enough. I'll have to get some. We'll just measure the ESR on them. See how they look. So they don't have a lot of use because this thing really hasn't been used at all since it was repaired. It was repaired, say, all those years ago, and it's just been sitting. Turn it on once in a while. And a lot of this stuff was done when it was rebuilt. For example, this is the 100 microfarad cap here. 116. This other one's also 100 over here at 80 volts. Well within spec. Both measuring 120, which is well within spec for a cap. This would be probably 20% tolerance on these ones. So I think we're okay there. This other one here, these blue ones are, what are they rated? $100 at 63 volts, it looks like. I might have some of those. 120 as well. These ones are bipolar, these caps. I know I don't have them. $114. I think we're okay. I think the caps are probably okay. I mean, there's nothing leaking. There's none of them that are leaking. And the amp actually sounds very good. So we may not even have to change any of these ones. Need new light bulbs for the display. They're out. Whether it's the bulbs out or the switches that control the lamps themselves. Sometimes the switches go bad, right? That drive the lights, change them from one mode to another. .47 microfarad. Now 0.7. .4, I think we're okay. We'll check the ESR on the caps, but these ones look okay. Those are .47, so I don't think we need to worry too much about them. Let's look at the 100s. Yeah, 0.1. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And this one here. .19. I'm happy with that. .04. 0.04 for 100 microfarad, 80 volt at that, so 0.15, and it's 0.04. 0.15 would be considered to be very good. So yeah, the caps on this thing are fine. I think even the main ones are fine. I don't think there's any problem with any of them. This one just needed to have the controls cleaned up. Put the driver board back in place. I found some of my light bulb dilemma. It's not the bulbs themselves that are blown, it's the switching, because none of the lights were working after cleaning the switch. You'll see that phono lights now, as does the auxiliary. Auxiliary works, AM's working now. I don't know if you can see that or not, but my lights are coming back to life. It's the switch. Oh, we got smoke happening here. It's the switch. It's the connections on the switch here. This is the switch. This is where the contacts are for the light bulbs. Oh, FM's starting to work now. As is Dolby FM, AM. Okay, all the lights are starting to work now. It's just the switch is bad. It's the front contacts here. The lights plug into the lights go into a plug along here, which goes up to this front set of contacts. These back set of contacts are what changes the audio source. These ones here turn the lights on and off. So I just got to clean this a little better. So now, that switch might be too badly shot. Of course, the same switches also control the meter lights. See what I mean? The meter lights are in there as well, and these meter lights draw a fair bit of power. They're incandescent bulbs, and that switch is not in good shape. Unfortunately, you can't get a switch for it, so there, now the meter lights are coming on, but they're not coming on as bright as they should. Just to be a matter of see if I can get the contacts that are obviously burned up pretty good on this clean. The contact in question is right there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not from this angle, but if I can get the camera in a little better. There's one contact right there. And I was just able to give it a bit more tension by bending it slightly. This is the one that was making a really bad connection. That one right there. So what I did, and I couldn't do it on camera, unfortunately, because the camera was in the way, but I got a hook underneath here and I kind of pried it up a bit, and then I bent it down and created some more spring tension on it. So it's making a better contact with the disc. And now, this is what I've got on the display. Power on. Phono. FM. Dolby FM. AM. Auxiliary. And my lights are working. Oh, now the display light's coming on too. Look. The lights aren't burnt out. It was just the switch that was bad. Cool. If you have bad display lights on one of these things, that switch is where your fault is. See if it'll still smoke like it was before. Contacts were pretty bad on there. It was smoking before. But looks like it's not smoking anymore. That was the contact cleaner that was smoking. It was getting hot, burning the oil in the contact cleaner. Okay, I got one bulb burned out on the one side of the power meter. Looks like that's the only bulb that's blown on this. Cracking like 20 watts there. This thing's blowing me out of the shop. Yeah, meter select, get normal or multipath. We'll show multipath on the other meter. We also have a centering meter here for tuning. MTX filter, of course, will take out frequencies above 16 kilohertz typically. Everything appears to be working as it should. Auxiliary turns off the display, that turns off the backlights on the display, or phono I should say. Radio turns on the display and the pointer, as well as the signal meter. Shows FM here. You guys can't see that, I'll lower the camera a bit. Okay, we'll start over again. Phono, lights working. FM, all the display lights up. FM stereo lights up. If I switch it to mono, Dolby FM, AM, auxiliary. Let's see how the tuner is on an AM. There's 650. A little pocket radio actually worked better, but I haven't moved the antenna on this. I'm sure if I move the antenna,
So, I don't know. I hope that they make an honest effort to bring them back.
As I say, that little pocket radio I tested the other day, the AM actually works better than this big receiver. I get a lot of noise in here.
Traffic Center, I'm Sydney Parker.
Thank you so much, Sydney, from the AM 730. Housing market. I think that's accurate, whether you agree with it or not.
And they're like, we're going to put the kids down. And I love that. I love we're going to put the kids down. Because never have. Honestly, up to 20 degrees.
We're at 17 degrees at YBR, and it's 8.
Great job. Have great successful careers. They've got to have both sides that are motivated, and I think we see that with the GIT.
And I've got my little AM transmitters on, transmitting the same thing as my FM transmitter. For testing music, right? So we go to FM. Nothing really much else, I don't think, on the AM band. Go to FM. If I turn off the muting, and I only have a piece of wire here. On here is the antenna. It's hung up on it. FM does not have much for an antenna.
Plus, get $20 off Mopar or Magneti Morelli brakes when you sign up for Mopar Exclusives.
One nice thing I like about Analog Tuner, you can turn off the muting.
Country. Plus, for a limited time, get a hot price on a Sealy Queen.
I think the provincial hopes to do a lot better, but if
All-star band, and we're picking our favorites from.
I think for Vancouver, we're probably going to hit somewhere between 44 and 45,000 this year.
Dial's a little bit off.
Difficult to contain.
Well, thank you so much for your.
The dial appears to be off just a bit because this should be 101.1, should be right here. 101.1 should be there, and it's actually
For two, eh?
up there a bit. 99.3 should be right about here. And it's actually up there.
Vintage Seafox.
So the FM dial is off just a bit. Okay, 101 should be. $96.9, 93.7, looking good. 103.5 should be right here, which it is. 104.3, 104.9. So it looks like we're pretty close now. Yeah, 101.1, 100.5, 88.1 should be right here. There it is.
why are they playing that on CBC? And then my little test transmitter down at 87.5. I think we are calibrated now for the FM band. If we flip it to Dolby FM, you'll hear the difference. Listen. So there's regular FM. I'm not obviously broadcasting in Dolby, but if there was a broadcast in Dolby FM, which isn't used anymore, but if it was, this is what this was for. And it does change the sound. See, the bass drops out. Still sounds good. Does reduce some of the noise, that's for sure. There's also a switch in the top on the unit that's for the de-emphasis mode. So this little switch down here is the de-emphasis mode, 75 or 50 milliseconds. In North America, it's set for 70, or 70, 75, one of the two anyway. It's set for 70. I think it's 70 or 75 milliseconds anyway. That's the standard that we use in North America. I think in Europe they use 50. And 50 was used also, if I'm not mistaken, or is it 25? It might be 25. I have to look that one up. Might be 25 and 75. But I know that when you switch to Dolby FM, it changes the de-emphasis. It actually does the equivalent of switching that switch, because Dolby FM used a different de-emphasis, and that's one of the reasons that you hear the sound change. I think this one's pretty much done. There's not a heck of a lot else I can do to it. Yes, I could go through here and change all these capacitors out. And some are probably going to suggest that I should. And I was considering that when I started on this project. I thought maybe we'll do a recap on this unit. But after hearing how good it sounds, I don't think there's any reason to do anything to it, because the sound quality through these small speakers that I'm using in here sounds fantastic. I don't know that I could improve anything. Really, I mean, it sounds excellent. So I think I'm going to leave well enough alone and put it back together and take it in the house and actually put this thing to use. It's working again like it used to before it sat around for all those years not being used. As I say, when I worked on this before, when I replaced all those transistors, and there was the 8 output transistors, and there was, I think there was 2 drivers, 2 or maybe even 4. But everything was blown on both channels. There was resistors that were blown, and there were transistors that were blown, and this thing was cooked pretty good. And I put a lot of time. I don't need to check the bias or anything, because that was all done when it was rebuilt before. So I know it's good. This one's bias is a heavy AB bias, so it's puts out some pretty good sound and fairly low distortion. Anyway, that's my Sansui 9090. I know there's going to be people that are going to whine and complain that I'm not going to change all the caps on it. And I could. I just don't see that there's any advantage to doing so. The tuner works. The amp works. Everything works. So, as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's not going to increase its value. Anyway, thanks for watching. And no, it's not for sale. Unless someone offers me a stupid amount for it. But I'm going to say no, it's not for sale. There it is, all back together. It's too bad there's a couple scratches in the veneer cabinet. I got it like this, so I don't know if that can be polished out or not.
but these ones certainly could. This one's pretty deep. But other than that, I say it's in pretty darn good shape. Say I got it in this condition, and it's been stored. Once it was repaired, it's been stored and used sparingly, let's say. But now that the lights and everything are all working, I may use this a little more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. As I say, Sansui 9090, one of the more sought after receivers on the market. This thing weighs a ton. This thing's probably 80 pounds. It's bloody heavy. I had to trek down the stairs with it, and I tell you, my back sure felt it after carrying this thing. It's not a lightweight. This one's a heavyweight for receivers. All these big old ones were like that, right? But yeah, this one weighs a few pounds. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.